everyone. Welcome to a special edition of our Teaching Kitchen series. Today, I am going to be highlighting mental health awareness. Living through a pandemic has made 2020 really stressful. It certainly brought new levels of anxiety, stress, depression, as well as grief. Today, I wanted to focus on one way that we can at least help alleviate some of that anxiety or stress that we feel, and that is by cooking, actually. So today, we're actually going to make a super budget-friendly version of ramen. For me personally, ramen is one of my comfort foods, especially with cooler temperatures arriving. It's definitely my go-to. The great thing is it doesn't take a lot of time. You can make it as difficult or as easy as you possibly want to. And it teaches you really how to bring many different flavors together in one dish. So I'm going to introduce these ingredients individually and get them prepped. So if you actually have never seen fresh ginger before, this is what it looks like. It is one of my favorite aromatics, and it just really helps to bring some different levels of flavor to your dish. Cool thing is that you actually don't, the skin just peels right off. You don't even need a knife to do that with. Actually, all you have to have is a spoon, but it's super simple. You're just gonna take your knife or your spoon and just peel it. So you can certainly use a potato peeler or a carrot peeler or something like that as well. Now we are going to rough chop about half a teaspoon or so, and just to get us some nice aromatics. Definitely recommend fresh garlic. I know you can buy that minced up stuff in the grocery store, and that's super convenient, but I guarantee the flavor just isn't as good as a fresh clove of garlic. So a little trick if you're actually trying to peel garlic, this garlic's already peeled, but if you will just take your knife, blade facing away from you, and just crack your garlic a little bit, it's actually gonna open up that outer skin on the garlic, and it's just gonna be so much easier to pull off. So we're gonna just rough chop this garlic, and it will be ready for our dish. Next, we're going to slice up this bell pepper here into strips. So if you haven't actually cut one of these up before, don't be intimidated. Don't let any vegetable intimidate you. It's super easy. So you'll actually just want to start with slicing off all 4 sides. So simple enough. We're just going to take this bell pepper side and just slice it into strips. Next, we are going to slice up some of our mushrooms here. These are shiitake mushrooms, some of my favorites to use. Pretty much any grocery store has them, so they're not super difficult to find. We're going to cut the stalks off of these in this specific case today, but hold on to those because, again, you can use these in this veggie stock a little bit later. So super simple, just cut your stalks off, and then we're just going to slice these up into strips. The important thing with any kind of mushroom is you want to make sure that you do rinse them before you eat them. Obviously, things are growing in the ground, and we want to get as much of that earth off of our mushrooms as we possibly can. Next, we're just going to slice up the tops of this green onion. Again, this is something that you can hold on to and reuse. Nearly, outside of the root, nearly the entire thing is edible. So don't throw this away. We're actually just going to use the green tops today and save these bottom white parts for something later. All you have to do is take your knife and just cut diagonally big pieces. We're going for about 1 inch. Next, we are going to cut up our carrot. You can certainly use carrots that have already been pre-shredded, but depending on what you might have in your refrigerator, that may not be an option. So we're actually going to cut these into matchsticks today. So they'll kind of look a little bit shredded, but little slightly bigger pieces. We're not going to use this whole thing, so we'll save it a bit. Again, save your carrot peelings and the tops and use that for a veggie stock too. So we're just going to cut a piece here And we actually just want to cut this in half. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now, I'm actually gonna make this a little bit smaller. But all I'm gonna do is just cut this into small size pieces. You wanna get your pan hot and somewhere on medium-ish heat, and we're gonna get our oil heated up too. Next, we're gonna add our 2 aromatics for this dish. So our garlic into our hot pan. You can hear that delicious sizzle that we all love. And we're gonna add our ginger in there. Smells so good. All right, we're just gonna let these cook just for about a minute or so. Really just until you start to get a nice aromatic smell. Now, we're gonna add a little bit of heat to our broth and just like a small pinch of chili flakes too. So whatever you like. Soy sauce would be a great addition to this. You can definitely add like a hot chili oil as well. Gochujang sauce, sambal, whatever. So the fun thing about ramen is that you get the chance to make this dish your own. So next we're gonna add those mushrooms that we chopped up a little bit later. We're just gonna cook those just for a little bit, maybe about a minute or two. Get them coated in that oil that we just made. And let those soften up and release that great earthy flavor that you get from mushrooms. Now I am going to add some chicken stock to this dish. This is actually homemade and you can easily do this at home. So chicken stocks, so all the extra skin, bones, if you're ever handling an whole chicken, you can actually make your own. They tend to cook on lower heats for really long periods of time, and they tend to be a lot thicker than broth, but they can be used interchangeably. So I'm gonna add about 1 cup to this. All right. And then I'm gonna add some water in here, just because our stock is very thick. Next, we're actually gonna cook our noodles. And I always just break these up into a couple pieces just to help fit them into the pan a little bit easier. But we're just gonna put these in here, cook them for about 3 minutes. You don't wanna cook them too long just because they'll get too soft and break apart really easily, but they cook in no time. Next, we're just gonna add a few strips of red bell pepper into this dish. And then we're going to add some spinach as well. So just long enough to get it nice and wilted. Just a good handful there. And we'll add some carrots. So we'll add enough we'll let it sit just long enough just to let everything kind of heat up. Now I'm gonna add the protein to this dish. This can be any protein that you happen to have on hand. So we had some leftover tofu that's been marinated in some gochujang sauce. So it's already nice and flavorful, but you don't necessarily have to do that. The great thing about tofu is that it pretty much absorbs the flavor of what it's cooked with. So I promise you're not just tasting blocks of soy. But if you don't have tofu, a rotisserie chicken is also great for this. Any kind of leftover meat, beef, whatever you might have, you can just throw right into this. So we're gonna add a little bit of tofu and get that heated up. I love to add eggs to my ramen. We actually cooked this one already, but you could easily take a raw egg, just crack it open and gently drop it into your simmering ramen that you have going on here. All you have to do is cook it for about 6 minutes. Really the goal with this is to get like a kind of a almost runny but really kind of mushy yolk with this. However, if you don't like yolks that aren't fully cooked, that's okay too. So you cook the egg top to however you like. Let's dish this up. I'm so hungry. I generally like to use a ladle for the broth, and then I will add usually with tongs or something like that, just because the ladle isn't necessarily the best thing to use. Go. We have actually dished up basically our super ramen. So who knew that packaged ramen could look this delicious? We ended up topping it with some extra chili flakes, a few more red bell peppers, some more spinach, that green onion that we cut up earlier, and then of course our eggs. So I hope you enjoy this dish. It takes less than 10 minutes to put together.